think that's a huge advantage, just practicality, which we do not often get at school. We get a lot of theory.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Winner's Table. I'm really excited to introduce Soraya Beheshti, who is the Director for Crimson Education in the MENA region and recently graduated from the University of Columbia, one of the best institutes in the world. She was also a mentor of mine during the Tiger Global Case Competition, providing invaluable inputs to our team. Thank you so much for joining me today, Soraya.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I love speaking with students about how they can up their game when it comes to high school and university admissions.
That's great. That's great. How have you been doing lately?
I can't complain. It's been tough for everyone. So I think, nothing. My health is fine, and I have a job that I love. So I can't really complain. Yeah, I will say I miss travel.
That's great. Of course, I think that's everyone. When we say that, we kind of wish we got back to the pre-COVID world. But anyways, let's dive straight into it. What was your most memorable moment at Columbia University?
So I hope you don't mind, but I have a few that I'm gonna jump on.
Oh yeah, totally.
I really took full advantage of my Columbia experience. Columbia is a global university and they have a lot of global opportunities available for students. So a couple of the cool things that I got to do was a study abroad program that took place half in Amman, Jordan, and half in Paris, France, which was studying Arabic and also migration, displacement, and diaspora. And the experience itself was awesome. I lived with a Palestinian family in Jordan and with a Moroccan family in Paris. Columbia has a center there, so any summer there's 100 Columbia kids studying in Paris in different courses and programs at the campus there.
Wow.
So that was awesome. And it also led me to do work with the refugee communities, who I ended up engaging with quite a lot over the next few years. That was in 2016. And I started a startup working with refugee communities, which I worked with right throughout my college experience. And because of that, startup ended up doing things like the first IBM blockchain accelerator. Another standout experience was studying conservation research in the Atlantic rainforest in Brazil. I'm very passionate about the environment, and I spent a month in the rainforest studying. And yeah, it was pretty awesome. I'd never been to Brazil. So we got to travel around to several different parts of the country and do what I'm passionate about. So that was stand-up one. And then while I was at uni, I also got invited by the UAE government to take part in a youth think-in at the United Nations, which was to strategize with the Ministry of Youth, things that the UAE could do to help its youth communities. And because of that, I ended up working with and advising the sectors of the government on environment and sustainability here in Dubai. Wow. So those were probably three of my favorites.
No, that's great. It's clearly visible, that this university provided a lot of experiences and opportunities for you to take advantage of, and it seems like you took the full advantage of all of them. But moving swiftly onwards, what do you think is your biggest takeaway from your university experiences?
Great question. I had never met anyone who went to an Ivy League university. I didn't know that was in the realm of possibility for me. I always saw that as something from a very special breed of students and people who were not me. And when you go to a university like Columbia or any world-class university, Harvard, Cambridge, etc., you meet people who are the best in the world at what they do. So you meet the best 20-year-old engineers of all the 20-year-old engineers in the world. And you meet professors who are the best in the world at what they do. And you meet linguists who are the best in the world at what they do. So to be in that environment really gets you in this frame of mind that literally anything is possible, because if you want to start a startup, you can work with some of the most talented young software engineers, which was something I got to do, in the world, or political scientists who are some of the smartest kids in the world. So I think it really gives you this sense of being limitless and the sense of the possibilities being endless. And that was quite amazing for me. Yeah. So
Yeah, that's great.
yeah, takeaways, just like think big and then surround yourself with the right people to help you achieve whatever it is you want to achieve.
That's so cool. And I think all of us want to, that's the one thing all of us look to when we see about, kind of getting into these universities. I think that's the biggest thing for all of us here, kind of using all the facilities and the network that we gain at these, amazing institutes. But, kind of moving into what Compridge does and what Compridge provides, would you encourage our listeners to sign up for Compridge's services?
Totally. Competitions are an awesome way to boost your university applications, especially global or regional competitions that are, recognized and renowned or international in some way, because they're a way to quantify your achievements. So in an application, students are always talking themselves up, right? I'm on the Columbia University Alumni Association Board of Directors, so I have a lot of engagement with the university admissions process, and yeah, everyone's going to talk themselves up in their essay. They're all going to kind of paint the picture that they are, the best at what they do. Competitions give credibility to that, to the message that you're portraying. So if you are involved in the Olympiad and you're telling a university that you are really good at chemistry and you have a silver or gold medal at the International Chemistry Olympiad, they're going to feel much more confident. Because remember, at a school like Harvard or Columbia or Princeton, you may have 35 to 40,000 applicants. And I know in the Stanford admissions process, for instance, of those 45,000, only about 1,700 of them do not have the grades to get into Stanford. So that means like around 45,000 of these 47,000 applicants have perfect grades, an SAT score that's probably above 1,500, really, really strong. So how else are you going to stand out? And you want to ultimately have a mix of things, an entrepreneurial experience, competitions, some kind of like social impact experience that relates to your core interests. So yeah, I would say it's very important, and it's nice to have a database of competitions to look at, because that can be quite difficult in the UAE.
Right. Perfect. And I think you kind of, you're a step ahead of me on this one. But I wanted to ask you, what do you think, similar to that question about the university experience, what do you think students can take away from their experiences and the services that Compridge provides in that database?
Well, I'll flip that around. What did you take away from your experience with Tiger Global competition? What did that teach you?
Oh, wow. That's a lot of things, actually. I think I started out as more of like a finance rookie, and this was the first time I did case. And I think it, along with, of course, your inputs, which are astronomically helpful, just the actual hands-on experience of, talking to these esteemed judges like, Jamie Beaton and Vikas Prasad and all these brilliant people, it really kind of not only gave me, like I said, the hands-on experience in the consulting world and in the financing world. It kind of gave me that confidence that, yes, I can do it, and this is something that I am good at doing. So I think that's what I took away from TGCC.
So that's probably what students can take away from competitions in general: engagement with specific subjects that they want to go into. That, like in high school, you may have abstract ideas of what it's like to be in a certain field, like medicine or economics or something else. But we don't really get to engage with that practical side. We learn our subjects, which may include business or economics, but still very theoretical. And competitions can give you a way to actually see, okay, what's it like to work on a business case, or what's it like to work in a biology, competition, or to work, robotics tournaments do the same thing. What's it like to be a mechanical engineer and have to problem solve? Hackathons as well. How would I be good at dealing with this kind of time constraint and pressure to problem solve something? So I think that's a huge advantage, just practicality, which we do not often get at school. We get a lot of theory at school. Plus, you get to meet with other people. And if you're going for, international competitions, a lot of us who aim for top universities, we might be like the best student at our school, or like one of the highest performing students at our school. So you're a big fish in a little pond. and you can get comfortable or complacent with where you're at because, you know, you're the best in your school, so where else do you have to go? But when you do an international competition, for instance, an Olympiad, you're actually going to see what the competition is like and what the caliber of students who are going to be competing with you for those places at these universities, what they're doing, what their profiles are like, and it can be a real reality check for some people.
Right. I couldn't have put it better myself. Wow, that was very factual even for me to like kind of say, oh, that's another thing I took away from it. And no, that was, I think, a very important point you raised there about, you know, network and kind of looking at the entire perspective of, like, you know, not just people from my school that are applying, there are people from all sorts of schools all over the world that are applying to these universities.
But I think
one more
a lot
point
of
on that. You know, when I was in high
go ahead.
school, I was one of the only students applying for the schools that the universities that I wanted to go in. There weren't a lot of students applying for Ivy Leagues. And I was pretty comfortable with my position, you know, in the school as an academic. And I think it was probably some regional Model UN tournaments where I really saw that, like, wow, there are some other students who are, I mean, really impressive as well. And just because I didn't know them at my school didn't mean they didn't exist. They were there. They were at other schools going for the same universities that I was. And it really caused me to up my game.
Right. That's a perfect example of, you know, the kind of quantification and experience that competitions give you on who the other people like you and their caliber as well. But I think one more thing that our listeners are really interested on hearing about from you is about Crimson Education. And I just kind of want to ask you, what is Crimson Education? What exactly do you guys do at Crimson?
Thanks. Good question. Crimson Education is the world's leading educational consultancy. So we send more students to the Ivy League in Oxford and Cambridge than any other company in the world, to the point where this academic year, 1% of the students at Columbia, Princeton, and Cornell are Crimson students. So I guess that's just one part of what we do. We also work with schools to build educational software. We provide world-class tutoring to students all online, anywhere in the world. We provide career mentoring, scholarship support, and we also have an online British curriculum, AP High School. So I can guarantee it's very different to what many students have experienced with their own schools going online. It's online first, so it's designed to be that way. Yeah.
Right.
And I use Crimson
and
to
that's
help me
great.
get into my dream university, because I graduated from high school with a situation where I had excellent A-levels, excellent grades, and thought I could waltz into any university that I wanted to, and was quite dismayed to find out that that didn't matter much. Good grades just get your foot in the door, and they don't really take you much further unless you're like the world champion in biology Olympiad. So I used Crimson to help me with my applications, ended up getting a scholarship to Columbia, really changed my life, and so I decided to open Crimson's first office in the Middle East 2 years ago. And to date, we've helped lots of students get into elite universities and get into their dream programs.
That's great. And I think that's the last question from me. Thank you so much for taking out time. I'm sure all of our listeners are really value what you had to say. And I'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Absolute pleasure. We hope to see Crimson's next competitions, the writing competition, on your platform as well, so we can get all these amazing students an opportunity to engage with writing.
Right, that'll be great, and something that we will be looking to put on there.
All right, thank you everyone. Good luck if you're applying this year.